It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine, Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine, hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, Rap Attack, Mr. Magic, Marley Marl. Those were the words of the late, great, Notorious B.I.G.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the new leader of the Democrats in the Senate, Hakeem Jeffries, who, in my opinion, is a slightly less cornier version than Cory Booker, who has made a name for himself being very outspoken in regards to his attacks against the Republicans. Now, one of his go-to attacks is the same talking point that all the Democrats use about how Republicans are allegedly a threat to my democracy, right? And they go on and on and on about that, okay? I mean, he commonly says that quite a bit when attacking Republicans. However, he has a history himself of attacking democracy by denying the legitimacy of our elections, particularly the 2016 election, in which he falsely claimed that Trump was illegitimately elected because of Russia. Take a look.
The American people deserve to know whether Donald Trump is either A, a legitimate president, B, a Russian asset, C, the functional equivalent of an organized crime boss, or D, just a useful idiot who happens to have been victimized by the greatest collection of coincidences in the history of the Republic.
I don't think not attending the inauguration, for instance, would be disrespecting that principle in this particular situation, because John Lewis is completely right. There is a cloud of illegitimacy around the election of Donald Trump. The Russians interfered with his election. James Comey and the FBI interfered with his election. The fake news industry interfered with his election.
Seems to me that there's a cloud of illegitimacy that continues to hang over 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and that patriotic Americans have a responsibility to try to figure out what the heck happened in terms of the malignant tumor that seemed to have been embedded in that 2016 campaign. What did the president know?
Regular order.
When did he know it?
Regular order.
And how do we prevent this type of malignant activity from happening again? Russia interfered with our election, attacked our democracy for the sole purpose of artificially placing someone at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. They were successful.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Wow. That guy, again, he's an interesting character. So he was actually confronted on his wild claims, right? As Republicans actually did something that I've been telling them that they should do, is just call out the Democrats on their hypocrisy and scream it at the top of their lungs and never stop talking about it. And Mitch McConnell actually went on the Senate floor to use some of his time to wisely call out the new leader of the Democrat Party in the House on his election denying claims. And because of that, he actually got confronted about these claims from George Stephanopoulos on the mainstream liberal media. And this is what Hakeem Jeffries' response was. Take a look.
You got a pretty stinging welcome from Senate GOP leader Mitch McConnell on Thursday. He took to the Senate floor and said this.
The newly elected incoming leader of House Democrats is a past election denier who basically said the 2016 election was, quote, illegitimate, and suggested that we had a, quote, fake president.
Suggesting an equivalence there with Donald Trump. What's your response?
Well, it's unfortunate that Republicans have chosen to focus on me. House Democrats are going to focus on solving problems for the American people.
But you did say that history will never accept Donald Trump as a legitimate president, and the Republicans are making quite a big issue out of that. What is your response?
Well, here's the Republican playbook. Facts don't matter. Hypocrisy is not a constraint to their behavior. And in many cases, they believe that shamelessness is a superpower. My view of the situation has been pretty clear. I supported the certification of Donald Trump's election. I attended his inauguration, even though there were many constituents and others across the country pushing me and others to do otherwise, and found ways to work with the Trump administration
being the lead Democrat in negotiating historic criminal justice reform. That track record speaks for itself. At the same time, I will never hesitate in criticizing the former president. I think I'm in good company there throughout the world.
Yeah, so here's the thing. As an educated person, right, listening to him, I know what he's saying is BS, but I gotta give him props for how, again, Democrats are just so much better than Republicans at dodging the BS that comes from the mainstream liberal media when they get called out. Hakeem Jeffries there. Again, everything he said was nonsense, okay? Obviously, there is an equivalence, right, to what the Democrats did in the claims that Trump was making, right? They say, well, it's not because January 6th didn't happen. And it's like, well, Democrats claim that the election of 2016 was illegitimate, right? Because they did not accept the legitimacy of Trump's election. After Trump was elected, there was violence, there was protests, there were riots in the street, right? There were Democrats who in Congress did try to protest or reject the election results, the certification of the election. Also, we spent millions of taxpayer dollars as a result of the false claims from the Democrats about Russia and Trump colluding together to investigate whether or not there was any collusion, in which we found that there was no collusion. Okay, now Russia did spend some money on some Facebook ads, right? But that's about as far as it goes. And if you want to argue that Russia spending money on Facebook ads influenced the outcome of the election, and that's why the 2016 election is stolen, right? Which is a false claim, by the way. Then what do you have to say about the Democrats and them overtly influencing Twitter, right? Because with the Twitter files that came out, we know that Democrats literally pressured Twitter to censor posts and to take down content based off whatever fits the Democrat agenda. So would that not be a reason, according to Hakeem Jeffries' logic, to have questions about the 2020 election? Because again, according to mainstream media and the Democrat Party, just even having questions, just asking questions about the 2020 election means you're insurrectionist, you're an election denier, and you are a threat to democracy, right? That's what it means according to them. And essentially the Democrats did the exact same thing that they said was so bad in 2016 that Russia did. They used social media in order to influence the outcome of an election. But they went even further than Russia because the extent of what Russia was doing was just buying ads, right? They just bought ads. Of course, you know, Democrats, Republicans, whoever, they buy ads, okay, during the elections on social media. But no, Democrats went even further than that. They actually went straight to the big tech platforms and pressured them to censor posts that were not politically convenient for the Democrats. That is way beyond what Russia did, okay? That is way beyond what Russia did. So again, they want you to think that Democrats doing what they did, using their government power and influence to essentially sway the censorship at these social media platforms, what posts are allowed, what posts are not allowed. They want you to think that's not as bad as Russia buying Facebook ads. That's what they want you to think. And if George Stephanopoulos wasn't a partisan hack, if he paid more attention to actual real journalism, like the Twitter files, than what Trump is posting on Truth Social, he would have followed up Hakeem Jeffries' non-answer, his dodge, with a real question about the Twitter files and the Democrats trying to influence Twitter. And how is that any different, or how is that better than what you allege Russia did that was so bad in 2016? But again, they're not going to do that. And the only reason George Stephanopoulos even asked about this is because Mitch McConnell made a big deal about it in Congress, which again, rare W there for Mitch. But this is, again, why Republicans just have to elevate their game. They got to elevate their game. It's not that the liberal media won't acknowledge it. It's that the Republicans have to make them acknowledge it, right? If Republicans, you know, stick to just attacking the Democrats, like Democrats stick to just attacking Republicans. You saw there Hakeem Jeffries, despite him being, you know, on the defense, he continued to play offense. As long as you continue to do that, Democrats are going to have to answer for their nonsense, and their hypocrisy will be exposed, right? There's just so much hypocrisy from the Democrats And it's just there to be exposed. It's just the Republicans do such a terrible job of actually exposing it. You can make the mainstream liberal media acknowledge it. You just have to be screaming it at the top of your lungs. Hakeem Jeffries is an election denier. He denied the election. He's an insurrectionist. He's a threat to democracy. And you need to just be hammering that home. Even though I do think that it's silly to go out here and to shame people for having questions about the election. I think that is a silly thing to do, because that in and of itself is a threat to democracy. Telling people that they can't question the outcome of elections. Okay. Yeah, that is a threat to democracy. Okay. That's anti-free speech. But regardless of that, the purpose is to say, look, these people are really no different than the people they claim are the worst people in the world, which is why all these so-called threat to democracy claims are silly in the first place. They shouldn't be taken seriously, because you should be allowed to ask questions about the election, right? It's just that when the Democrats do that, when they attack other people for it, they don't actually really mean it. They're doing it as a way to be partisan, okay? That's the whole point, right? So again, Hakeem Jeffries, man, he is definitely going to be quite the character in Congress. It's going to be interesting to see the dynamics between Kevin McCarthy and him. I personally think that Kevin McCarthy is in over his head. I think that Hakeem Jeffries is probably going to run laps around him, because I think that Hakeem Jeffries is just better at politics than Kevin McCarthy. But who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe Kevin McCarthy might grow a backbone or something. I highly doubt it, but we'll see. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.